Episode 5, Paul. I keep saying this every week. We've had some really good discussions, and we've got some good comments from people as well. Although I think the comments this time around were more general. So I think in those first couple of weeks, we got a few challenging questions that we responded to. People are kind of settling in. I think our audience is kind of settling in, and maybe we're getting more comments from people who are generally agreeing with us. So what I wanted to do, Paul, is just kind of read to you some of the comments that...
You can look at them.
Yeah. Every week we always kind of begin by going over some of the comments that we received. But like I said before, we didn't really get a lot of people disagreeing with us like we've had in the past. And by the way, the people that we've had disagreeing with us usually give us very insightful comments and gave us good conversations, good things to talk about in response. But a lot of what we got this time, a lot of people just simply agreeing with us. And so I'd like to read some of those comments. One of them was, social media has really made life look perfect, even when it is not. And at the end of it all, every young girl, boy, whatever, they want to have that same perfect life. This is so true.
Yeah, and it helps to get such comments because while we discuss the same topic of social media, we said this kind of platform helps us to not feel alone or awkward because of our views, because you always find people who are like-minded, who feel like you. So it's interesting how people who are more in path of morality are becoming the minority, at least about being outspoken. When you're being blatant about facts of life and objective, it helps to get people who actually believe like you.
Yeah.
And yeah, true, social media is setting a life that is perfect, but life is imperfect, and that's the perfection of life anyway. Ironically, that's what makes life perfect, because it's not perfect. You don't always get things the way you want them to be. They say even the model on the TV would like to look like the model on the TV, but they can't.
Right. Even the ones you see in the magazines, they're photoshopped. So
yeah, they want to be like the one in the magazine, but then...
The real model in that magazine doesn't look like that in real life either.
She also fantasizes about what she looks like in the magazine.
All right, second comment, Paul. The superpowers continue bullying traditional African countries to abandon our good values for a few dollars. In the spirit of freedom, they have become oppressors.
Oh, yeah, and we had some news today. The Supreme Court stood by our bill
in Uganda,
and the anti-gay whatever.
6-0. It was 6-0.
Yeah, it was shocking given that there was superpower money and threatening to take away to not grant visas to these people. But yeah, they stood their ground because, much as some of these cultures may be good for those people out of our country, but for us, we don't believe they are good for us. And at least we stood our ground, and that was a step in the right direction. I think, Bob, at some point I was telling you about the lady the bathroom incident. I told you if she had the case in the Ugandan courts, maybe she would win. And looks like she could win.
Yeah.
She has a fair chance here.
So I was talking about a case in the U.S. where there was an 80-year-old woman who complained at a YMCA because there was a biological male who identified as a woman who was undressing in a locker room in front of girls. And she went to complain, and these were underage girls, these were children. She went to complain, but the response of the YMCA was to expel her. And this 80-year-old woman, who is now 82, is suing the YMCA. We were talking about whether or not she would win. We were speculating in the U.S. she probably wasn't going to win, but if the case happened in Uganda, she would win. And it kind of looks like that.
Yeah, maybe she has a high chance.
That she would have a high chance of winning in Uganda if that actually happened here. Although I think it's unlikely that would actually happen here in Uganda.
Very unlikely.
But very unlikely. But yet, I should say. Paul's talked about before, Uganda is being influenced slowly by what's happening in the West. And of course, the West is pressuring through, because as we've talked about before, Uganda is a poor country. The West kind of uses the money as a weapon, saying, okay, if you want our money, you have to accept our LGBTQ values.
It's just poor according to your Western metrics, but then Uganda is blessed, That's why it's called the Pearl of Africa. The lands are fertile, we are good with agriculture, we have a few minerals here and there. We shall be refining oil soon. We're not as poor as it looks, Maybe even the idea of Uganda being poor is a political gimmick or something. It's not about just feeding us money, it's also international trade. If you don't do things you don't dance to the tunes of some of the superpowers, they could put embargoes, bans on your products, so you may actually not do well on the world market.
So we did get another comment, Paul. It was very brief. May God save us all.
Yeah.
So
save us from, I guess, talking about wokeness and where it's taking us, yeah.
Where wokeness is, and again, we have to probably keep saying this because somebody might just be seeing this video, hasn't watched our other videos. As you said several times in previous videos, wokeness in and of itself is a good concept. It's just basically to be alert and aware to issues of social injustice, which is a good thing. And so when wokeness started, it started as something good, but it is being hijacked by these other agendas that are actually a malpractice of wokeness. And if you want more clarification on what we mean by that, you can go back and look at our previous videos.
You could as well comment on them.
But it's interesting. I want to focus on this comment, though. May God save us all. So somebody is lamenting all of these problems and is, in a sense, praying for God to save us from all of this. And it kind of leads to a question that's popping into my head, Paul. It leads me to wonder about, could it be possible that as society is becoming more and more secularized, that people are looking for meaning in other places, and this is why we're running into all of these other problems, because it's leading to emptiness in people's lives, where they're looking for meaning. Like, for example, why is there so much obsession now with identity and with affirming identities? Because maybe people don't have their identity in God, so they don't have meaning that extends beyond themselves, so they have to find that meaning within themselves. And so they create these artificial lives on social media. And so they create this focus on their identity and how it's so important for them to have you affirm their identity to give them meaning or validation. And I'm wondering, Paul, how much of this has to do with the absence of God that we're seeing more and more of in society.